What is up, y'all? So this is a video of my 10, or not 10, I don't know what I'm thinking. This is a video of all the jobs I've had. So from the time I was like 15 to now, I guess you could say. So let's go ahead and get into this. So the first job I had, I was 15. It was a car wash. You know, it was a manual car wash. Like, not like you put coins in or anything, but yeah, people came and there was like four or five of us that washed the car. You know, I don't remember if we did actual detailing, but we did wash cars, and it was one of my friends that I grew up with after I moved here from Texas, because, you know, I'm in North Carolina. So it was one of my friends' grandparents that owned it. So that's how I ended up getting the job. And I did that for a summer. And then, I mean, I guess that's what got me into detailing cars. But yeah, after that, so that was getting paid under the table. So, but my first legal job, I guess you could say, was at McDonald's, and I worked there for a few months, and I was 16 then, because I quit school, and I hated the job. I really did. And it was funny because, you know, I'd go in there. Back in the day, I was, you know, skater pants and all that. Damn, manager, I think her name was Angie, blonde-headed woman. I can't believe I remember that, but yeah, she told me I looked like a ragamuffin one time, and I found that funny as hell, because at the time I used to get high and everything, so I found that funny as hell. But yeah, I only worked there for a few months. I think it was like 3 months, and then I quit. And then I worked at Hardee's, which was right across the street from there. I worked at a Hardee's, and this was back when they sold fried chicken and all, when fried chicken was their main thing. But I only worked there for like 2 days, because I think it was the second day I was cleaning and I lifted up a trash can. I lifted it up off the floor, and like what looked like hundreds of roaches just scattered out from under there. I was like, I'm not working at this nasty ass place, and I quit. But then after that, which these were all at the mall, you know, you had the mall, and then in front of the mall was McDonald's and Hardee's and all that. Well, my next job was at Corn Dog 7, and Corn Dog 7 was inside the mall, and I'd end up working there by myself. And Corn Dog 7 spent a lot of time slow, and at the time I used to ride my bike everywhere I was going. You know, like I'd ride my bike to the college to get my GED and everything like that, and then I'd ride my bike to work and all that. Man, I had a nice ass Diamondback Assault EX fire engine red. That bitch was bad as hell. Somebody tried to steal it, and because they couldn't get it, they damn bent my rims all the hell, so I had to buy new rims for it. But man, that was my favorite bicycle I ever had. I loved that bike. But yeah, it was funny because I would work there and I'd be there by myself, and I'd just eat like hell. Yeah, I'd end up eating like hell. And at the time, I wasn't nowhere near as big as I am now, because I was younger, and I rode my bike everywhere and all that. I didn't get all the crazy neurological symptoms back then like I do now. So, but yeah, I worked there for a little while, and it was cool being by myself, working in the mall and all that. But outside of that, you know, it sucked, because I was like 17, and back then I didn't give a fuck about really anything. So I wish I would have stayed myself. I wish I would have stayed more disciplined and everything back in the day instead of being a little just loose cannon asshole like I was. But oh well. And then the next two jobs, I can't remember which came in order, but then I had a job at Bojangles, which is a chicken place if you don't know, because I know Bojangles. I don't think Bojangles is all over the country, but they're fried chicken, and I worked there for a couple months. I didn't really, like at the time I wanted to go to culinary college, but I ended up figuring out working in restaurants was not my thing. You know, I didn't like it. I couldn't do it. I didn't like it. And because I wasn't disciplined and didn't give a fuck about nothing whenever I was that age, it just made it even worse. So I wouldn't hold a job for shit. I would make money, but trying to stick to something, I would make money and I would work for money, and I did other things for money too. But as far as sticking to somebody else's schedule, I didn't want to do it. So, but there was that, and then there was another job that I had. Like I said, I can't remember which one came first out of these two jobs, but then the other one was me putting in ground pools for that summer. That shit sucked. Putting in ground pools sucked ass, because, like, you know, they dig the hole and then they dig out around the hole. Like, they dig the hole, so, and then they dig deeper, and then they dig out around the hole, and then they'd put the wall, and then we'd put the walls up. Now these walls would be metal, so we'd put metal walls up, and then we'd get down in the rest of the hole, and then take a pickaxe and pick everything evenly, and then put down a vermiculite, which was kind of like putting down cement, but it was kind of corkish. But it'd be like 90-something degrees outside, and then being in that hole with the sun beaming off of those walls, just cooking us, it would be like 120 down in that hole. So, and then, you know, we'd get done with that, and then we'd fill in the hole on the outside of the walls, and then, you know, pour the concrete over that around the pool. And yeah, man, then we'd put in ground pools, and then we'd take out old ones and stuff like that. Boy, I'll tell you what, running a jackhammer can be rough. That shit will take it out of you. So, yeah. So there's that. Then I got a job at Sagebrush. And I worked there for like a year, and that's when I ripped a hole in my foot. So I was 18. I ripped a hole in my foot then, and yeah, I did cooking, I did prep and all that there. I hated the job, but I loved working in the kitchen and talking shit. And man, there was a kitchen manager one day. You know, kitchen manager, he was young. He was only like 3 or 4 years older than me. And man, he was one of these arrogant fucks, and that thought he was the shit. And this motherfucker, one day we were working, you know, we're in the kitchen working, and he's on the grill, and he said something about my dad. You know, him talking shit. Now, my dad ain't never been around, and he used to bother me for somebody to get to me, and it pissed me off. So it don't no more, but he used to whenever I was younger. And he said something, it pissed me off, and I went to the back line, you know, because we had the front line, the middle line. We had the front line where the waitresses and all their stuff was at. Then we had the middle line where the grills and the fryers and all that were at. Then we had the back line, which was where we prepped stuff at. And that's the way the kitchen was sectioned off, pretty much. And I went to the back section, and I grabbed the biggest knife I could find. That blade was like that damn long, something like that, maybe a little longer. And I went back around. I went back up and I was peeking around the fryers. I was like, this motherfucker's back's turned. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. So I started walking towards him, and I can't remember if it was Tyrone or this dude Scooby that worked there. But they grabbed one of them, or it might have been both of them. I can't remember. One or both of them grabbed me. They were like, nah, Cigarette, don't do it, man. He ain't worth it. And they called me Cigarette because back then I smoked like hell. So they were like, nah, Cigarette, don't do it, man. Don't do it. He ain't worth it. And this and that. So, you know, nothing ended up ever happening. But I was thinking, man, I'm going to get this motherfucker and he ain't even going to see it coming. But yeah, that's when I ripped the hole in my foot was there, and I worked for most of the time that I was there with that hole in my foot. And then one day it was hurting really bad, and one of the dishwasher started talking shit. He was like, man, Cigarette, quit whining, or quit complaining. And I was just like, man, motherfucker, you talk about I'm whining. You want to see me whine? You want to see me complain? Motherfuck you and fuck everybody in here or some shit. I was going off like that. And then I was like, man, fine, then I fucking quit. And I walked out. And I walked out the side door. Now, this was when Sagebrush, here where I'm at, which they're closed now. They've been closed for years, but they had a big line around the building, and I walk out the side door, and the house manager, the front manager, she's Jane was her name. Jane was like, Chris, where are you going? And I was like, I'm leaving. I fucking quit. Fuck this place. And I said some other stuff, and I was like, and that's the reason why y'all use cheap beef. And I left walking, and I walked up the road and called what ended up being my kid's mom. But yeah, so there was that. And then I ended up detailing cars at a place called Keter Ford. It's a Ford place. It's not called Keter Ford anymore, but yeah, I worked there. And man, I didn't mind it. There was an old dude, Roger, there that worked there, and he'd tell me different things about pumping cars and everything, because he really knew what he was doing. And man, I ended up getting fired from there because, okay, so you pull in the back door right here, then the wash bays are over here. Well, there's a beam right here. Well, I pull this Ford F350 in that just got bought, and so it wasn't even Keter's anymore. Paperwork already was done on it and everything, but we did something called a delivery wash. So, and that was after it was purchased. Well, there was a bunch of cars in the shop, and I was like, man, I ain't got time to get all these cars, to get all them to move their cars. So what I was going to do, I was going to try to whip the thing around that beam, around it, and pretty much U-turn it into the wash bays, one of the wash bays. And whenever I did, I caught the bed of the truck, where the bed of the truck meets the cab. I caught the bed of the truck right there on the passenger side and caved that shit in. I was fired on the spot. So I ended up leaving, walking there. That sucked, man. But oh well. And then I detailed cars and stuff, just detail cars, sold weed and done this and that. And then I started a business called S&G. Me and this dude Kevin started it, and Kevin already had a shop called S&R. Kevin already had a shop. Well, Kevin, because a lot of the customers that he already had were in town where me and him opened the shop. He was trying to pay me like a worker. And I told him, I was like, dude, we ended up getting to a point where I said something and everything. And he was trying to do that. And he was like, well, I could just let them go up to the other shop. Nah, dog. I put most of the money into this place and everything to get it up and going. No, we ain't doing that. I was like, well, dude, I quit. I'm shutting my half down. Now, the only thing that he stuck to his word to with that is, he said that if I couldn't make it in it, he was gonna shut his part down too. And that's what he did. He just shut his part down too. So that is the one thing that he stuck to. But I was like, man, you trying to pay me like a worker? I'm not a worker. And I said all the other stuff to say with it. But yeah, I was just like, fuck it, man, I'm not doing this then. So yeah, there went that. That was my first shop that I had. And what sucks is I got the money off the settlement from getting hit by the car. That's why I used almost all that money from that settlement, which I was left with $2,500 after the lawyer and everything got his cut. So I got $2,500 for a lifetime worth of medical problems, really. But yeah, so there's that. And which that kind of pisses me off too. That the money that I got for the lifetime's worth of medical problems, I put into a business that I ended up having to back out of because I went into business with the wrong person. So, like, doing certain things I don't even like. I try to do stuff just me, now. But there was that. That was at S&G Auto Detailing. Then I did floor buffing for a very short time. I did floor buffing. And they ended up letting me go because they were, the manager. What was the manager's name? What was it? Mel. I think it was Mel. But yeah, there was Mel and another manager, and they were both really nice, But they were asking me one day about why I walked with a limp and all that, and I told them, I was like, man, I told them about this and that, and I told them this because a hip muscle deteriorated and everything, but I was telling them about the hole in my foot too, and they wanted to see it. So I fucked up and let them see it. Well, within a couple days, I was fired because they kept trying to tell me, dude, you need to go to the hospital. You don't need to be working. You need to get disability. You do not need to be doing that shit. That shit'll kill you. And, they weren't saying shit and all that, but that's what they were pretty much saying. I was like, man, I gotta work. And then they ended up, 2 days later, I was let go. I don't remember what the reason was that they used, but I know the real reason for it. And it's, Mel was trying to look out for me. That Mel, like I said, Mel was a really nice dude. He was the main manager. He was a really nice dude and everything. He tried to look out for people, and I know that's what he was doing, was trying to look out for me, because I wasn't looking out for myself. But at the same time, I needed to work. But since I wouldn't quit, they did it another way. So, and they were right. It could kill me. I still have the hole, and right now it's doing decent. So, but they're right. It could get out of control and get really infected and kill me. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So, yeah, they let me go on that, and but the floor buffing was pretty cool. I like doing that. The plant was huge. I hated dragging that floor buffer all around. Yeah. And then I ended up working at a place called Polygram. And if you remember Napster and when the CD burning all got started, that was from that plant. It was in South Carolina. I live in North Carolina, but I worked at that plant for a little while. And me and this dude, Big D, which Big D ended up going, now he's locked up because just a few months ago, I seen him come across on Facebook where he beat his dad to death, or or shot his dad or something. I was like, God damn, you know, never would have thought he'd have done that. But yeah, but anyway, you know, me and Big D, we worked at Polygram at the CD place, doing something called palletizing. But me and Big D were on our way to work one night, and because we worked third shift, and it was 12-hour shifts, and we were on our way to work, and we were stopping to get our checks cashed at a little convenience store. And while we're waiting to turn in, this chick rear ends us. We're at a dead stop. She rear-ended us. She even said she was doing like 55 miles an hour. But what was so bad is we're going down the road. She's at a stop sign right here, and her car's hanging into the road. And I just said, that chick's going to end up causing a wreck, man. Damn. And look at, she ended up causing a wreck. And me and him were part of it. But yeah, she damn drilled the shit out of us, man. So we ended up not going to work, and the doctor took us out of work for a few days or whatever. I can't remember how long exactly. But when we went to go back, when we went to slide our cards wouldn't let us in the gate. Come to find out, they fired us that night, the night that we got hit and we called in. They fired us then. Assholes. Yeah. So, and then there was a place called Sister's Cafe that I worked at. I cooked and washed dishes there. So, me and my friend Chad, rest in peace, Big Chad. Yeah, I worked there, and I worked there for like a year. But yeah, I quit because I thought I was going to have a better job opportunity, and then after I quit, the job opportunity ended up falling through, and then I couldn't get my job back because they already replaced me. So jobs will replace you very fast. But yeah, especially like restaurant jobs and shit. But then I just kind of did my own thing, you know. For a few years I did my own thing, and, you know, sold weed and washed cars and all that stuff. Just did my own thing like that. And then I ended up getting a job because me and my ex, we split. That was the first time she left me. We split, and this was like 2010, we split. So I ended up getting a job at Advance, and I worked there for a little while, and then them fuckers fired me. Not because of my job performance or anything, because my manager, the other workers told me that he was on the phone with the district manager for like 20 minutes, arguing like hell with her, trying to keep me. But the district manager was new. She came in, and she didn't like Wade, so she came in and started getting rid of all of Wade's crew, and she started with me because I was the easiest one. Because at the time, Advance had a policy that, you know, they wouldn't hire you if you weren't employable if you ever had drug charges or anything. Well, which now I don't think they have that policy anymore, but yeah, so she used that because Wade should never hired me, but she used that to fire me. So I was the first one, man. I just loaded up, and I did delivery and stocking, and I just loaded up the HHR slam full with cases of oil. Wade comes out, he's like, man, Chris, gotta give me the keys. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, man, you can't make that run. I gotta let you go. I was like, dude, wait, come on. I was like, nah, man, you joking. And I really thought he was joking because Wade would talk shit with us. Wade, hey, he would have me rap for people he knew that would come in and everything. But yeah, he ended up, he let me go for real. He's like, nah, man. He said, I'm serious. He said that they had me fire you, and they had me let you go. He's like, you know, he apologized and everything like that. But yeah, after that, I said, you know, because I still went in there and stuff. they were just, she started down, she just went in and cleaned house with his crew. So, but yeah, but then my commercial manager there, he went ahead and called Napa and told Napa, I was needing a job, and Napa hired me. So then I worked at Napa for a few years. And during that time I had a business called Crystal Clean. And so I would work at Napa and then go to Crystal Clean. Like, I'd go in the morning early. I'd ride my bicycle to Crystal Clean early in the morning. And then I would, buff on cars or do certain things that I had to do there. And then I would go to work. And then my ex, she would go open up the shop at like 8 or 9. And then I had somebody working there with her. And, so that would happen. And then I would go, and then at lunch I would come up there and help them out or do certain shit that I had to do. And then go back to work at Napa, because luckily Napa was right behind where I found the shop. And then I'd go back to work, and then I'd get off work, and then I'd go back up there almost every day after I got off work and do things that I had to do for a little while. Then I'd ride my bicycle back to work, back home later. So, but then I got to the point where I let Crystal Clean go. And then, I worked there. I worked at Napa for another year, and then I ended up having to quit because the hole in my foot was getting so bad. So I quit, and then and then I ended up being a stay-at-home dad for a while. I'm trying to remember, did I do anything else? Yeah, I just ended up being a stay-at-home dad for a while. Bill was selling weed and stuff too to make some money. But for anybody, I don't think I haven't smoked in a few years, but I don't think weed's a big deal, in all honesty. Now, that ain't saying just go smoke and drive around and all that shit, but I'm saying it's not the demon, it's not the demon drug that everybody tries to make it out to be. I'm not saying it's great for you, but it's not what people try to, try to do with it, try to turn it into. But yeah, so then I ended up getting a job at, it was called professional, but then they turned it into associate asset recovery. So I worked there. That was a repossession company. I worked there driving something called a camera car, and the camera car is these cameras set up, and as I'm driving by cars, it'll scan the tags, and if it would scan a tag that was connected to a car that was of repossession, the system would go off. I'd get the order, I'd check the VIN number on the car and all this and that, man. I'd get my driver to it, and I'd go ahead and we'd repossess that car. I love that job, man. I hated the pay, but I loved the job. I liked helping out with repossessions. I liked chasing people. Legally, we weren't supposed to chase people, but I would chase the fuck out of people because we got paid by the car. So if I found a car and then got the order on it and everything sent, and then while I'm waiting on my driver to get there to pick up the car, some people would come out and get in it, get in the car and leave. I wasn't gonna lose them. Nah, man, that's my money right there. You should have paid for your car payment. You should have paid your damn car. So I would chase them. I got a few stories on that, but yeah, that was my favorite job. Well, I ended up quitting that because the owner was a fucking dick. So the owner was a dick, and certain things about the company, the way it was ran, I didn't like it. Which Leslie even worked at that company too. That was when I first met her. But then I ended up going to a place called CIA, Recovery and Towing. So that was another repossession company, and I did the same thing there, but I had such a bigger area doing that, and that was fun. But a sudden, I was finding like 15 cars a week because I would, the cameras would scan tags, but while I would do that, while I was running accounts looking for cars that we already had, but I ended up getting let go from that because all of a sudden, just the cars we were finding, we weren't finding nothing anymore. Like all of a sudden, everything just went bad. So, yeah. But I loved doing that shit. That shit was fun. And then I went back to Napa. So I went back to Napa, and I worked there for a while. I don't remember how long. And then I went to a place called Hallelujah Acres. That was the shipping that I did. And, I was doing that and everything. And then me and Leslie started See Greatness Clothing. But then I got let go because my foot got bad. I needed to be on crutches. And they were what's it called? They were talking about I was, a potential hazard working there like that. So they let me go at the place called at Hallelujah Acres. They let me go at Hallelujah Acres. So, and then, I was like, well, I'm gonna try to make it work without going to get another job, which is not what was the wrong choice. But See Greatness Clothing, after a year, we shut it down. And then I went back to Milligan, and then I went to Milligan in 2020, the very end of 2020. And then Hallelujah Acres, they called me, and the manager, he was apologizing, all this and that shit. So I started helping them. I would go there like a day, 2-3 days out of the week and help them. So I was doing that. And then I was also detailing cars too. So I want to know what that sound is whenever the wind blows. It squeaks like that. Because all of a sudden the wind's blowing like hell. But yeah, so I was working at Millie's. So for a time in the early 2020s, I was detailing cars. I was detailing cars damn near every day, working at Milligan and Hallelujah Acres. And I was still doing it all with the hole in my foot. So like that one dude, what was his name? I can't remember his name, but he jumped on one of the posts I had about COVID. Pretty much, saying, the family was soft and everything. It's like, nah, bitch, you don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know the shit that I pushed through. And on top of it, I was still doing all that with neurological conditions that I had to be careful of too. Or with neurological symptoms I had to be careful of, them setting off. So, yeah. And then I stopped detailing. I stopped detailing after I caught COVID because I got to where, every time I really try to work hard, which is what you need to do, detailing, it would set off symptoms. So I quit detailing. I didn't do Hallelujah Acres no more. And then Milligan, I finally quit Milligan, just a few months ago. And now I do videos, and, during all that time, because I started doing videos in 2022? I think so. Yeah, 2022, because we're going on 4 years now. But, yeah, so I was doing all that, and now here I am just making videos because every time I try to do stuff, it gets to me. So, I still try to do headlights here and there, but that ain't working. Because, like I said, in another video, like 2 or 3 times I went to try to set up. By the time I got the car and everything loaded up, my symptoms were so damn on me. I had to just be like, fuck it, I'm going and laying down, So, but I'm about to get my truck back. And the way I've been feeling, I've been wanting to drive lately, been wanting to attempt it, and see if I can drive without dizziness kicking in and everything. So, because I got the drawer system that I built for my truck, I'm gonna put everything back in my truck. That way I don't have to load and unload somebody's car every time I want to do a set of headlights. So hopefully things will turn around. So we'll see. So yeah, y'all, so those are the jobs that I've had throughout my life and everything. And comment, let me know what jobs you've had. Yeah, so I'm gonna get off here. I'll see y'all next video. Y'all take it easy and peace.